7:48, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So we talked about a few things last night, so very practical things, that all 4 cups of wine and our matzah is going to be heseba. It means leaning on our left side. We said for 2 reasons. Numero uno is because we want to eat with our right hand, but it's okay even if you're a lefty. We still say you should lean on your left in order that the food will go down your esophagus, not your windpipes, that we won't choke, chas v'shalom. We also said that married women don't need heseba, according to the Gemara, when they're sitting in front of their husbands, unless they're an isha chashuva, they're an important, valuable woman of society. The Ramah says all women today are considered an isha chashuva. However, because we have the Rav Yah that says that people don't lean today anyways, even if they're like noble people, so because the women have 2 strikes against them, number one, that only an isha chashuva would lean in front of her husband, and 2, that because of this Rav Yah, then according to the Ramah, women don't lean. But again, ask the question, but women are obligated in the 4 cups, even though it's a mitzvah aseh shebizman grama. It's a positive time-bound mitzvah, but we say that because women were included in the nace, in the miracle coming out of Mitzrayim, or if you want to say stronger, like Rashi and the Rashbam, they were responsible for causing the miracle of coming out of Mitzrayim. That they kept all their families Jewish and from, Baruch Hashem. So, number 3, we said there's a special mitzvah to get children a nap, Erev Pesach, before the Seders, that they'll be able to stay awake. If they're 6 or 7, at least get them a glass, maybe a little small, doesn't have to be revius, but they should have their own mali lugmav, their own cheekful, and we want to keep them engaged, whether that's giving them candy, if they ask a question, and it's all about giving all the Masorah Seder night. So we want to make them the highlights. And because of that, we want to make sure to start the Seder as early as possible. So around 50 minutes after sunset, says. So whenever a person would typically end Shabbos, that's when you can start your Seder. Okay, so then we're talking about different mechanisms to measure out what a revius is, and we got into talking about how big a mikveh is, as the Gemara is going to start speaking about on top of Kuf Tes Amud Beis. So it says that a mikveh is ama al ama b'yom shalosh amos. It's 1 ama, about this length on your arm, ama al ama b'yom shalosh amos, so 1 by 1 by 3 amos. B'shiur chachamim shiur me mikvah arba'im sa. So the rabbis estimated that a mikvah should be 40 sa in order that can cover a person's entire body. When you go in the mikvah, you're going to be completely covered. Amar Vashi, Amar li Ravin bar Chinana, the shulchan shel mikdash shel prakim hava. The shulchan, the table that they had inside of the Beis HaMikdash, that was what's called as prakim, i.e. you can take it apart like a Costco table. So why? The Isak Daitach Haduki have a Mahadik. If you would say that the shulchan, the table inside the Beis HaMikdash, was very, very strongly put together, like let's say a nice wooden dining room table. So Amasa ba'amasa heichi metavli. How would you be able to dunk it inside of a mikvah that's 1 by 1 by 3 if it became tameh? This shulchan, the table inside the Beis HaMikdash, could become spiritually impure. It needed a mikvah dunk. The only problem is that it's too long and 1 wide and 1.5 tall. So how's it going to fit in the mikvah that's 1 by 1 by 3? Rather, it must be that you could take it apart very easily. And that's how they dunked it. So, because this is Heicha B'Tavla. How are you supposed to dunk it? My kusha, asking why I don't get it. Maybe Dilma B'Yam Sha'asa Shlomo have a matbile. Maybe, apparently King Shlomo, he made some type of pool, some type of body of water inside his area, in around his home, and so maybe you could dunk it right there. To Tani Rebbe Chia, Yam Sha'asa Shlomo Machzik 150 mikvah tahora, because it says that the Yam Shel Shlomo, this body of water, it held 150 mikvahs inside of it. So it sounds like it's big enough. You should be able to take the shulchan, the table of the Beis HaMikdash, and dunk it in. So it doesn't really have to be like a Costco table where we can bring it apart, where it's prakim. Rather, it could even be mahadik. It could even be tightly together. that you can't take apart because we could just dunk it in the mikvah of the Yam Shel Shlomo. Okay, so we're about to begin a something that's going to last 2, 3, maybe 4 daf, talking about zugos. Zugos literally means zug means a pair. So back in the times of the Gemara, there was a problem that you weren't allowed to drink an even number of glasses of something or eat an even number of things. Why? Because if things happen in evens, so it would create something called shadim, these evil demons, these evil spirits. And so the Gemara is going to have a problem. Why are we allowed to have 4 glasses of wine Seder night? Well, 4 is an even number, and then that's going to create all these shadim and all of these demons. So the basic idea is that they are real, even though we can't see it in the world. It's going to go 2, 3, 4 daf. I think just the best thing we can think about is that this world does have things that we cannot see. As my wife says, there are undercurrents of the universe that are beyond our comprehension. So some things we can't understand, we don't see, but they're still there. But it's okay, we don't have to worry, says the Gemara, because if a person does not believe in them very strongly, then they don't have the power to attack a person. So in today's generation, we don't hear of these shadim because people don't believe in them. So if you don't believe in them, they're not going to attack you. But back in the times of the Gemara, they're going to ask now why the rabbis were allowed to make 4 glasses of wine. So here we go, right? The 2 dots. It says, "Below yifsachu lo me'arba." You're not allowed to lower, not allowed to have any lower than 4 glasses. 4 glasses. Heichi mitakni rabbanim. How can the rabbis make this rule? Asked the Gemara. Midi de asi balidei sakana. Is that going to bring somebody into danger? Tanya. We have a brayso that teaches us, lo yochal adam trei. A person should not eat things in 2 slices of pizza. Below yishta trei. You should not have 2 drinks either, 2 cups of coffee. Below yikaneach trei. You shouldn't wipe yourself in the bathroom in an even number of times. And lastly, below yasat surachav trei. A person should not have tashmish in an even number of times. We're gonna call it tashmish. For those that don't know, tashmish means marital relations. So we shouldn't have tashmish more than one. We shouldn't have it twice. So Amar of Nachman, Amar Kra. We're answering, how are you allowed to have 4 glasses of wine? So I'll tell you, because it says Leil Shimurim in the pasuk. It's a night. Pesach night is a Leil Shimurim. It's a night that Hashem guards us. Leil Hamishamer Uba Min Hamazikin. So if Hashem's guarding us Seder night, then we should be able to dodge all these evil spirits coming to attack us. Drinking 4 glasses of wine should not be a problem. The Shulchan Aruch brings down that Seder night, when we go to sleep, if we go to sleep, so we only say the bracha of Hamapil and the Shema with the first paragraph. People that usually say more than that do not need to Seder night because we're already protected. It's a Leil Shimurim. Some people have the custom to keep their doors unlocked because locking our doors is a statement that we need protection. And Hashem is taking care of us Seder night. So some people leave them unlocked. I'm not taking responsibility for anything that happens in people's homes. Everybody decide what they want to do or ask further halachic guidance. I can tell you in Eretz Yisrael, we did keep it unlocked. There was nothing to worry about. Here we're still, I guess we're sleeping at my sister-in-law, so it doesn't matter. Whatever they do, that's what we'll do. So Rava Amar, different answer. Koshel bracha mitztaref latova. A koshel bracha, if it's a cup with blessing inside of it, then ain't a mitztaref l'ra. Then how could it? It can't. It cannot join for the bad to then have shadim come attack you. Ravina Amar arba kasi takina rabbanan. Der cheres kol chad b'chad. You're right. The rabbis made 4 different glasses of wine, but each one is bringing us from cheres, from abdus into cheres, from slavery into freedom. So the Gemara says, mitzvah ba'afe nafshahu. It's each cup is a glass for itself. So it's not like we have 4 glasses and now I had an even number and the shadim can come attack me. No, I have 4 separate mitzvahs. We don't look at them as one. So it's not that there's 4 and the shadim can come attack me. Fine. So we have a few answers. We have Lil Shimurim, we have it's a Kosh Shal Bracha, and we also have that each one is a mitzvah b'fnei asmo. Each one is the own mitzvah. 3 answers. So I want to ask, we said before, Lo Yaseh Tzrachav Trey. A person should not have tashmish twice. Ask the Gemara, Amai, what's the problem with having tashmish twice? Nimlachu. People don't usually go upstairs and decide to have tashmish twice in a row. It's usually if they have a lot of energy after the first one, then they'll do the second one. Well, if they're nimlach, if they change their mind, that's not something that joins to then have shadim attack for zugos. Answers the Gemara. Amar Abaye, Hachika Amar. This is what we meant to say. Lo yochal trey, v'yishta trey. Don't eat 2 things. Don't eat even in the evens. V'yishta trey. Do not eat and do not drink in the evens. Below Yaseh Tzrachav. And then after if you would have eaten in 2s in the evens, you should not have tashmish at all. Afilapam achas dimachalish umisra. Even once, because what's going to happen is once you ate in the evens to make zugos, then even after tashmish once, when the person would become a little weak, that's when the shadim are going to be able to jump on a person and overcome them. Taner Rabbanan, the rabbis taught in a brisa, Shosek Felim Damu Barosho. A person, by drinking doubles, drinking even zugos, they could cause their own death. Amar Yehuda, Amasai, when's that true? Bizman Shelo Ra'a Pnei Ashuk. That's only if they did not see the face of the market in between. So if a person would go for a walk, theoretically, in between glasses, then we do not combine the cups. Aval Ra'a Pnei Ashuk, Harishas Biyado. But if he saw the shuk in between, if he saw the market in between, he went for a walk, then it's okay. We don't have to worry about zugos, shadim. Amar Vashi, Chazina le Rav Chananya bar Bibi de Achol Kasa. Have a nafik, v'chazi afe shuka. So there's one rabbi, Rav Ashi, he basically saw Rav Chananya bar Bibi. He was eating, and he basically saw the shuk in between, and below Amrin el Letseis Laderech. He said, you don't need to technically go to the shuk, like you don't need to go to Target. Aval bebeso ela Letseis Laderech. You just have to go out on your way. Leaving your house would be enough. Aval bebeso low. But if you stay in your house, then the shadim are going to be able to come to attack you. Amar Bezera, belishain Letseis Laderech dummy. If a person would fall asleep, that's like going out on your way, and then there's a break. We don't join the glasses, and it's not zugos. Amar Papa, uletseis lebeis hakisei, k'letseis lederech dami. If a person would go to the bathroom, that's also a break, and the zugos cannot attack you. Ubebeso low, if you stayed in your house, then it's going to be I guess some rabbis, they hold that it is a problem to leave, and some say that it would be a problem only if, so we're saying it's only a problem if you left, according to this next opinion. The first opinion says that if you leave your house, it's like the reset button. We don't join the glasses together. The second opinion says that it's only a problem if you left your house, because the shadim can come attack you when you're on the outside. But if you stay on the inside, then the shadim cannot hurt you. So according to the opinion that says staying on the inside, the shadim cannot hurt you, but based so low as the Gemara, the ha Rava Mani Kishuri. Rava used to count the beams in the ceiling in his home. He didn't have any plans to leave. He's counting as he's drinking 1, 2, 3, 4, so that he knows if he's at an even number. Abaye Kishasi Chad Kasa. Abaye, if he would drink 1 glass, Manchile Ime, Trey Kasi, Betray Yadeha. So apparently Abaye was a mama's boy, he used to live at home. And once he had 1 glass of wine, so his mother would all of a sudden come over with 2 glasses in 2 of her hands. So we see that she was already scared for him of zugos, and he was staying in the home. But Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, you have a shasi trei kasi, the opposite. Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak, whenever he would drink 2, so mankile shmei chad kasa. So then he would have one. His servant would be holding 1 glass to make the 2 into 3. Or if he drank chad kasa, if he only drank 1 kos, mankile shrei kasi, but shrei yadeha. If he had 1, then he would get. The servant would have 2 glasses of wine in each hand. That's 4. In order to make 5, so that zugos wouldn't be a problem. So we're asking, zugos is not a problem if you don't leave your home. The shadim can't get to you. Of course they can get to you, because we have 2 rabbis on record that were scared of the zugos even in their home. So the Gemara answers Adam Chashuv Shiny. In Adam Chashuv, a very important rub is different. Somehow the shadim, they have power to attack important people in their homes. The regular people like us, we don't have to worry. Amar Ula, Asara Kosos Ein Behen Mishum Zugos. Once you get to 10 glasses of wine, then you don't have to worry about the zugos attacking you. Ula l'taimei. Ula goes according to his own reasoning. The Amar Ula, the Amila b'masnisa, because Ula teaches in the Gemara in Ksubis, a pretty funny halacha. We don't follow it today, Baruch Hashem, but it used to be that when a person would get back from burying one of their 7 relatives, their father, mother, sister, brother, son, daughter, spouse, anybody that they would be sitting shiva for, so they said you had to drink asar kosos tiknu, chachamim, but beisa avel. The second you got home to your house to start shiva, you got to drink 10 glasses of wine. The wine would sort of relax a person. It seems like a lot of wine, and you probably get trashed after 10 glasses of wine, but that's what they did. It says, beisa kadaitach asar kosos yesh ben zugos. But if you hold that they really have to drink 10 glasses of wine, there's zugos in that. That's a problem. Heichi kaimi rabbanan, but tiknu milsa de asi de sakana. How could the rabbis obligate a person to drink 10 glasses if that's going to bring them to danger? Of course they want to be in danger after you just buried one of your 7 relatives. You're saying Shiva, not a good way to start. Aval timni yesh ben mishum zugos. Okay, so 10's not a problem, but 8 would theoretically be a problem of zugos. I gotta scroll down. Didn't go too far, right? Okay. So 8 would be a problem. Except Rav Chisda, the Rabbi by Rav Huna, the Amar Tarvayu, both of these rabbis said, Shalom Latova Mitzdarif. Shalom, if you count out the last line of the Birkas Kohanim that we give to our children on Friday night. So you saw. Okay, if we had a sitter in front of us, we could find it. It's a sitter. Just take a look. So what we say to our children on Friday night. So the last line, Yisa Hashem Panav Elecha Yasem Lecha Shalom. So because Shalom is 7, well, anything after 7, Shalom, peace, cannot link to zugos, says these 2 rabbis. It says Shalom Latova Mitzdaref, L'Ra'ah Lo Mitzdaref. We cannot have 8 joining after 7 to bring us into zugos. Aval Shisa, 6, Yesh Behen Mishum Zugos. 6, there would still be a problem with zugos. Except this opinion says no. It says, Rabbi Rav Yosef to Amar Tarvayu, Vichuneka L'Tova Mitzdaref, L'Ra'ah Lo Mitzdaref. Bichuneka, which is the 5th word in that pasuk that we give to our children on Friday night, you can't have a 6th join into that afterwards. It says Hashem is going to give chen to you. He's going to give pleasure, right? So we can't. 6 would not be a problem with zugos either. Aval arba yesh behen mishum zugos, but 4 would still be a problem of zugos. So we just went from 10's not a problem, 8's not a problem, 6's not a problem. Oh, but 4 is a problem, which is really a problem because we drink 4 glasses Seder night. Abai b'Rava, the Amar Tarvayu, b'yishmerecha l'tova mitzdarif, l'ra lo mitzdarif. Except Abai and Rava, they both say that this word l'tova, which is the yishmerecha, which is the 4th word in the Psukim, I guess it's the 3rd word in the Psukim, so the 4th glass after that cannot make zugos, because the Rava l'taimei, the Rava of Kayu l'Rabbanan b'arba kosos. We know that Rava holds of this because Rava would always have rabbis over at his house. And after they drank 4 glasses, even if it wasn't Pesach, he'd get them 4 glasses and send them on their way. So you see that Rava didn't hold a zugos by 4. Apagam to Iszik Rava Bar Levi, even though that Rava used to get attacked by Shadim every single time that he would be sent away. Rava Bar Levi would get attacked when he went away from Rava's house. So Lo Chashla Lamilsa, they were not worried about him for Zugos. Why? The Amar Hahu Mishum de Osron Bepirka. It's because that he would always ask questions in the rabbi's class. Now, of course, it's always good to ask questions if we have a question, but the questions were brought to only bring the rabbi down and embarrass him in public. So because of that, the Shadim would attack him. It had nothing to do with drinking the glasses, an even number. So we still see that 4, even according to this Gemara, that back in the time they believed in Zugos, 4 would not be a problem. Amar Yosef, Amar Li Yosef, Sheda Ashmadai Malka, Shedi Mamonahu, Akul Zugi. So Rav Yosef said that he met Yosef the Shade, some shade named Yosef. He was the head honcho for this group of Shadim, and they called him a king. So because he was a king, Lo Ikri Mazik, according to this first opinion, a king is not called a damager, so he did not have to fear Yosef, the king of this group of Shadim. Ikta Amri, but some say Ikta Amri lo lahai gisa. Adarabba, it's the opposite. Malka de Tichinahu, my Yavid. Of course, a king you need to fear because a king is just going to do whatever he wants. Shamelech porit geder lasos lo derech be'ein mochen biyado. The king will always do whatever he wants. Nobody's going to put up what's called a macha. Nobody's going to protest against the king because they're afraid of, right? So you should be very scared. You should be very scared of this Yosef, the king of the Shadim. Amar Papa, Amar the Yosef, Sheda betray Katlinan, be Arba lo Katlinan. Rav Yosef says that a shade will only kill you if you drink 2 glasses of wine. But with 4, you're not going to be killed. But Arba, though, Mazkinan, with 4 glasses, they can be mazik, they can damage you. Betray, if you drink 2, Bain b'shogeg, Bain b'mezid, that's whether you drink the glasses on purpose or on accident. But bi'arba b'mezid and b'shogeg lo. But if you drink 4, then they can only damage you if you did it on purpose, not by accident. V'i ishtali v'ikri v'nafak ma'tikante. Let's say you made a mistake and you drank the zugos. So now what are you supposed to do? Just stay in your house all day so that the shaitan don't come attack you? No, you're supposed to go outside, says the Gemara. What are you supposed to do? Linkud zikafa didei diamini biyadei dismol. So you're supposed to take your right thumb and put it inside of your left fist. And then it says, you should also do the opposite. V'zakfa dismali biyadei diamini. And somehow at the same time, you're going to take your other thumb from here and close it on this hand. And you're sort of like locked in like that. And so then you're going to go outside. And you're going to say this incantation, basically, that B'nema hachi. This is what you're going to say. Atun v'ana hatlasa. You and me are 3. I.e., the Zugos and me are 3. So because we add up to 3, all the Shadim, you can't attack us. B'ish shmiele. The Amar asun v'ana ha'arba. But then you hear a voice, and the voice says, yeah, well, you and me are actually 4. So you know it's the shade that's joining in on you. So nemalei atun v'ana ha'chamisha. So you're supposed to trick the shade and say that actually you and me are 5. And then we're odd number. So then you can't attack me. But if you hear back, you and me are 6, the shade comes back and tells that to you. So you play with him some more. You and me are actually 7. There was a story where a guy did this and he went with the shade all the way up to 101. What happened then? Bepaka Sheda. The shade was Paka. He basically was killed on the spot in thin air, died, because once you argue with a shade until 101, the shade will vanish. So you don't have to be worried about shadim because you just lock your fingers like that, and you say, me and you are 3, and you keep going up to 101, and it cannot hurt you. Amar Meimar, Amar Li, Rishtini Dinashim Kishvanius. So the Gemara is saying now that a Meimar says, I had the pleasure of speaking with the leader of the women's witch movement, basically. That there were a bunch of ladies that would be involved in witchcraft, and so he met the leader of their group. Haiman de Paga Bahu Benashim Kashvanios Nemahachi. If you ever run into one of these witch ladies that had the spirit, so this is what you're supposed to say to them. Little funny. Chari chamimi bedikula bezaya v'pumaychu nashi. So you're supposed to say basically hot excrement should be put in a basket with holes in it, a broken basket, and it's going to fall on your face, lady. And karach karchaychu, parach parchaychi. And that your hair that's used for witchcraft and wizardry, the hair is going to fall out. You should become bald. And your crumbs that you use for some type of magic, they're basically going to be blown off in the wind. So good luck with all this magic. So it is important to mention that there is such a concept of witchcraft and wizardry in even in amongst Torah thoughts. The Torah tells us not to get involved in it, but it is still there. We don't see it today a lot. A lot of times there are people that claim to do it. I'm not sure. But we're supposed to stay far, far away from it. We want to read Harry Potter, fantasy. So again, ask your local Orthodox rabbi. I know Rabbanim that are very for it and others that are very against. So everybody should follow what their rabbi says. So as you're talking to
I know Rabbanim that read it.
Right, that's right. Myself included. So this is what you're supposed to tell the ladies, that the excrement should fall on their face, their hair should fall out, the crumbs should be blown everywhere. And it says, Ivdur tavlunaichi parcha zika lemurika charata dinaktisu. So basically all your different spices and all your perfumes, they're going to be blown away in punishment that you do this activity of witchcraft and wizardry. So what are you supposed to say to her after that? Nashim kashfanius arechanani v'chananchi lo asis lago. Basically, if I make my efforts to stay away from you, all you witch ladies, so Hashem should have mercy on me, and you should have mercy on me as well, because I made my effort to stay away. But if we would make an effort to get closer to them, but if we would manage to get in the way of these ladies on their mission to do all the magic, so then they have the power to do whatever they want, and Hashem's mercy is going to go away as well, and they'll take care of us. It says, B'ma'arava, in the West. Now, this is the Talmud Bavli, right? It was written in Babylonia. So, in the West, in Eretz Yisrael, lo kapti azugi. In Eretz Yisrael, they did not worry about zugos, about drinking things even unnumbered. Reb Dimi min Nahardea kapid. So, Reb Dimi, who is from Nahardea, a place in Eretz Yisrael, he was actually makbid. He was worried about the zugos. Afilu arushma dechavisa. Even by the tallies that they would basically put into the barrels of wine, they would scratch them out to know which bottle and which barrel of wine is which. So they were even worried about the zugos on those scratches. Haba uvda upaka chavisa, and there's a story where they basically did that. They scratched it in. Fine. So the Gemara is going to give the Eitzah, the recommendation that we said at the beginning. It says, Kol dekapid kapti bahadeh. Anybody that is makbid, anybody that's scared basically of the shadim, so you should be scared. They're going to come after you. And it says, Uda lo kapti bahadeh. But if you're not worried about it, like us in today's generation, then you don't have to be worried about it. They don't have the power to come against you. Umiu lemechash mi boy ki aser ibdimi amar shtei beitzim b'shtei gozim shtei kishuim b'davar acher halach Moshe misinai. So the Gemara says, hold on a second. Reb Dimi says that we still need to be worried, even in today's generation. Why? Because there's a brisa that's taught, a teaching that says, if you have 2 eggs, 2 egozin, some type of nuts, if you have 2 kishuin, which is 2 squashes, and also something else, then halach Moshe Sinai, there's a tradition all the way from Har Sinai that you got to watch out for zugos, for the pairs. Well, what's this davar acher? What's this other thing? The rabbi said, I don't know, I forgot. So because that I forgot, but the last thing is that zugos could attack you, so we have to be strict about everything, so that make sure that the shadim can never attack. Because let's say we forgot that the last 2 things were oranges, so if a person had 2 oranges, then the shadim could attack. As the Gemara says, "Umistafka lahu l'rabbanan, my new davar acher." And the fact that the rabbis were unsure what this davar acher, this other thing was, so v'gazer rabbanan b'kulu zugi mishum davar acher. So the rabbanan back in the times of in Eretz Yisrael, back in the days, even they were worried about zugos, even though they technically weren't worried about zugos, except for these 2 things on the list, because they forgot what the davar acher was. So they put a hard, fast rule: nobody's getting even things on anything, because we don't want to have to come save you from the shadim. The fact that we said before, different opinions, that 10's not a problem because the rabbi has made you drink that much and you came home from the cemetery, or 8, 6, and 4, depending on how you read the bracha for Birkas Kohanim. So what about them? When they told us that before, they're only telling us in regards to mazikin, to damagers of shadim. But in regards to regular old kishuf, just regular magic, a person would still have to be worried. It's going to tell a story of a man. He divorced his wife, and the wife got remarried, and to a grocery store owner. He used to go hang out in that grocery store every day, and he would basically drink wine inside of the grocery store. Insaba lichanua kol yoma. He would go and relax in the grocery store every day. Hava'azim v'shasi chamra. He would go and drink wine there. Havaka avda like shafim. Beloka mahanile bay mishum dehavim izdar benashe bezuga. So he would usually drink a lot, but he never had to worry because he made sure that he was not going to drink an even amount, and that way the shadim wouldn't be able to attack him when he left. Except Yom Echad, one day, Ashti Tuva v'lo yada kama shasi ad shitzer, and he didn't really keep track of how much he was drinking. He had at least 16, says the Gemara. He had at least 16 glasses of wine. It's really, really a lot. So usually until 16, Habit Sayil, he has a clear mind. He's able to remember what he's at. Be'iz dar b'nafshe, and he's able to watch himself. But mikan be'elach, lo Habit Sayil, lo is dar b'nafshe. But after 16, he's not able to watch himself clearly anymore. So it doesn't say exactly how many he had. It's somewhere above 16. I guess maybe it wouldn't even be 16 because 16 he knew. So we're saying he's at least at 18 glasses right now of wine, and he's not going to remember to watch himself for the shadim. So it says, Afkise bezuga, he went out on some type of even number. Ki haba azil gaspe hahu toy. When he actually left, so he ran into an Arab merchant outside. Amrle gaver kitlahu the azil hacha. Izo chavki v'dikla savich dikla upagahu. So basically, the Arab merchant, I don't know if it's a blessing or curse, he said that you're going to die, and because that this man that had drinking a lot in the store, so he wasn't watching himself correctly. He ends up hugging a tree to hold his balance, and he and the tree basically the tree dries up, and he ends up dying. Amar Avira, ka'aros v'kikaros ein behem mishum zugos. Plates and kikaros, like loaves of bread, you don't have to worry about zugos for those. Why not? Klal demilsa, the general rule is, kol shegmaru b'yedei adam ein behem mishum zugos. Anything that finishes through human intervention, so we do not have to worry about zugos, like a loaf of bread made by man, or what was the other thing we said? Was plates. So because plates are finished by people also in a pottery factory, so we don't have to worry about zugos for that. But if it's gomer b'idei shemayim, b'mili mini demechel chayeshina. But if they're made b'idei shemayim, then upstairs in the heavens by God, then you do need to worry about zugos. The question is going to be, so then how is wine, if wine is through human intervention, so why exactly is it relevant to have zugos for that? It's a good question. I'm going to look into it, just because I'm thinking about it as we're going. In case anybody else has the answer, I'm going to try and think about it. So it says, Chanut ein behem mishum zugos. If you're inside of a store, then you do not have to worry about zugos, because we're inside, they're not going to come attack you. If you're nimlach, like we said by Tashmish, ein behem mishum zugos. If you change your mind, so we see it as 1 and 1, we don't see it as 2, you don't have to worry about zugos. If it's oreach, if you're oreach, ein bo mishum zugos. If you're walking on your way, then that's not called zugos, because it's shinai mako. As we saw before, you're changing your place. If you have an isha, ein ba mishum zugos. A woman usually does not have to worry about zugos. The Gemara basically is understanding that women would not drink more than 1 glass of wine. However, if isha chashuva chayeshinan, if she's an isha chashuva, an important woman that would drink more than 1 glass of wine, then she should be worried just as much as men. Amar Rav Chinana, Breder Rav Yoshua, asparagus mitztarif l'tova, ve'em mitztarif l'ra'a. Asparagus is like it's some types of cabbage drink that they had in the back in the times of the Gemara. So that would not join for zugos. So let's say that you had 2 glasses of wine. You could not then have a cup of this asparagus drink made out of cabbage to now make it considered 3. And so we say that it's only joined. So we say it's joined for good. So if you drink 2 glasses of wine, it'll help you to get you to 3, but it's not joined with l'ra'a. Meaning if you had 1 and then you have a glass of asparagus, it's not going to bring you up to 2. Amar Vina Mashmei de Rava, Zugi l'chumra, v'amilei Zugi l'kula. Some people teach both ways. That when we talk about, I can't remember how many glasses I drank. Maybe it's 2, and if by having an extra one, then I'm not in Zugos land anymore. But maybe I only had 1. So I'm good right now, but if I drink 1 more, then it's going to be a problem. So they say sometimes people are strict and they make you drink 1 more. And some people say that you better to just stay the way you are and not drink any more at all. So Amar Yosef, Trei dechamra v'chad shikra lo mitztarif. If you have 2 glasses of wine and you have 1 glass of beer, the beer does not join to the 2 glasses of wine to bring you up to 3. You're still in Zugos territory because you're still at 2. But if it's the opposite, if it's Trei de Shikra, V'chad dechamra, mitztarif. If you have 2 glasses of wine and you have 2 glasses of beer and 1 glass of wine, then it is mitztarif. It is going to join to the 2 beers, and now that's considered 3 glasses of a drink, and the shadim cannot attack you through zugos. B'simanayich, here's a nifty way to remember it. If you're familiar with a Mishnah in Caleb, I don't know if a lot of us are. It says, I'm certainly not. It says, Zeh klal, this is the rule, kol mechuber lo, min hachamor, mimenu tameh, min hakam mimenu tahor. So if you have different types of drinks, and what you're adding to it is more chamor, it's like a stricter food, then it's going to get you over the line to have a kazayas or a revius to make the food mekabel tuma, to have it impurities in it. But if it's something that's less chashuv, less important, then it's not going to join. The food is not going to be able to come tameh. So it's the same thing over here. Because that wine is considered chashuv, it's considered more important than beer. So if you have 2 beers, 1 wine should be able to bring you up out of zugos. It is mitzaref, it connects. But the opposite, if you have 2 glasses of wine, a beer is not considered chashuv, so it's not going to join to 3. You're still stuck with 2 at zugos. Amar Nachman, Amar Rab, Trei kamataka v'chad ataka mitzarfi. If you have 2 glasses of wine before your meal and you have 1 glass of wine during your meal, then we say that those glasses join. But if it's the opposite, chad machmitaka v'trei ataka lo mitzarfin. If you have 1 glass of wine before your meal and then you have 2 during your meal, then they're not going to join. Ask Mar a question. We're not arguing about before your meal and during your meal. We're saying that there's a difference if you have a glass of wine during your meal to after your meal. As the Gemara says, Maskif Rav Misharshi, Atu Anan Litzkune Taka Kaba'inan. You're telling me that we're worried about the actual meal? Litzkune Gavra Ba'inan. We should be worried about the actual person. The Gavra Kamit Miskin, the Koi de Kule Alma. Everybody agrees that Shrei Ataka, V'chad Basar Taka Lo Mitzarfi. Everybody agrees that if you have 2 glasses of wine during your meal and 1 after, then lo mitzarfi, they do not join. Ki hahi maisa, the Rabbi Bar Nachamani, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. So they're going to have a teaching that kol hamazug mitzaref, to the next stop, we'll end here, chutz min hamayim. According to this teaching, any liquid is going to join for a next cup except for water. Water is not seen as, at least according to this opinion, water is not seen as chashuv, as halachically important, so it's not going to join into the other glasses. And you would still be stuck with zugos if you're at 2, or you'd be okay if you were at 3 or some other odd number. So basically tonight we talked very briefly about Leil Shimurim, that the Seder night, it's a night of guarding. So if you say Kriya Shema Alamita by your bed, then you only have to say Hamapil and Shema with the first paragraph, nothing more. If you usually say more, you still don't have to say anything more Seder night. And some people even leave their doors unlocked. And lastly, we're saying that there's no need to worry about zugos, about making even numbers of your glasses. So, because in today's generation, it's only a problem if you believe in the Shadim. People today do not believe in Shadim, so they don't have the power to come attack us. And just the reason why we're seeing this, the reason why it's in Shas, in the Talmud. So it is Torah. It's just as important as any other sugya, as any other daf that we might learn. It might not be as interesting or relevant, but it certainly is. It certainly is, has its importance, and we should learn it. Basically, I think the message behind it is that there are certain things in this world that we can't see. One of them is God himself, right? So as my wife said, just once again, says there are undercurrents of the universe that are beyond our comprehension. So there's Shadim, but there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the more that we train our eyes to see Hashem properly, then the more that he will come into our lives. The Kotzker Rebbe, he said, so somebody came to him and said, where can I find God in my life? And he said back to them, wherever you let him in. That's really it. That if we look for God, he's going to show himself to us. And if not, not. Just like the Shadim. Baruch Hashem, we don't place chashivas, we don't place value on the Shadim, so they don't show up to us. But in the opposite extreme, if we show Hashem that we want to be connected with him, then he will show himself to us and be there. Okay. So, questions?
Is that why there's a minhag to like make 3 eggs?
My wife was talking about that. We're not sure where that came from. Your family does that also?
My wife usually does that, or did that. I used to think it was because of a kashrus issue with eggs that were germinated. So you had 3, so that if you have 2, whatever, basar rov or something. So, but I guess I just wondered because it seems
I learned
so much.
something for smicha about if there's a blood spot, then it should be batal, but it was never very clear when they said that. They said it's more of a custom. Anything
It
else?
doesn't
you can't
apparently
do.
apply bismuth anyway.
Right.
Somehow.
So I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's interesting.
I think this Gemara goes after my grandfather because he said if you have 2 beers and a glass of wine, it doesn't count. That's the way my grandfather thought about it. Is that drinking is not beer, right? Beer does not involve drinking, or
Right.
you can drink beer and it's not really drinking. That was his perception of this for pretty much everything.
Right.
I don't know, 2 or 3
order.
or
The
5.
beer first or the wine first?
Or the scotch first.
I don't know. I'm just saying that. I mean,
Liquor before wine, you're in the fine.
something like that. The
How's
issue,
it called?
though, in all honesty,
Beer
the
before
issue,
liquor,
though,
never
is
been thicker.
that these 2 daf of Gemara are dealing with things that are really hard to really like wrap your mind around, right? Like, why should you care whether or not you have 2 or 3 of these kinds of things, and how do you think about it? And your statement about remembering that it's as important as anything else is actually well taken. So thank you for that.
Good. Baruch Hashem.
It's still going to be hard
next
for me to
daf.
actually think of it that way, but I will try. How is that?
There's lots of sugyas all over the place, especially in Shabbos, there's a lot of medical advice. And so the Rambam, even as early as the Rambam, would talk about that we shouldn't be listening to the medical advice of the Gemara, that Chazal, says the Rambam, had a lot of medical knowledge of their time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's applied to today's generation. But still, it made it into Shas. So we see that the reason that Chazal taught it to us and put it in Shas is because there's some relevance to it, that it is Torah and that it should be studied. Some say that it's really true. It was even true back then, but Nishtanos Abrios, that our bodies have changed, so the medical information is different. There's different explanations behind it, but at the end of the day, Torah is Torah, and so we have to treat it with the same kavod that we would to a sugya about Kiddush Malkum Suda, let's say. Okay.
Thank you.
Shkoyach.
Have a great night, everybody.
Shkoyach. Time for dinner. Goodbye.
Make sure to eat an odd number or something.
Ellie,
Yeah.
good evening.
Bye.